Welcome back to 15 Minutes with Lee, where transformation meets truth. And today's guest is the real deal. I am joined by Ciera Parks, a data-driven, globally experienced, and unapologetically people-first HR leader. She's not playing, y'all, okay? She's not just talking about change, she is implementing it across industries, across strategy, across continents, from Asia to Europe, from manufacturing floors to boardroom strategy sessions, from gender sensitivity workshops to building HR infrastructure. Ciera's story is proof. You're probably saying proof of what? Well, Ciera's story is proof that when people and process meet purpose, you get potential realized. So let's get into it. Ciera, welcome.
Hello.
I'm so glad to have you here.
A pleasure indeed. It is a pleasure.
In the DMV.
Right. Come on.
Back-to-back weeks.
Yep.
So you're getting ready for Sherm.
Yep. Sherman's ramping up.
Tell me about that. What's your deal? What's the deal?
All the things. So of course we want to get some promo going out right?
Okay.
And then the team is going to be out there. Our folks are going to be there representing, and so boots on the ground. Thank you, team.
It's gonna be energetic.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, Sherm is a lot.
Sherm is a lot, even when it's local.
Right.
Okay. That's how we met.
That's exactly how you met.
Okay, we're gonna get back to it. So, Ciera, who are you? People want to know who is Ciera Parks?
I'm a girl from the South.
South where?
Florida.
Oh,
Florida. Yeah, right. Bless her heart.
That.
Yeah.
I'm Tennessee.
Right. You know, it's a thing.
It's a thing. It's a
thing. It's a real vibe.
Yes. So you're from Florida,
from Florida, mixed background, very culturally diverse, and went to college, came out on the other side, and did some things. That's what happened.
From Florida, did some things, just it up, and here you are.
Here we are.
So let's start here then. You've worked across continents and industries. You've coached leaders. You've done the things. Tell me about what that's been like for you, especially being from the South and actually helping organizations transform the way they do business from an HR perspective.
So I think what's so interesting about having a career that's so diverse is that you get to try different things, right? HR is a big umbrella. And so when you're working with different people, you learn different cultures, you learn the way people think, and you learn sometimes just what won't work. And sometimes that's more important than anything. What's not going to work here? And really learning how you sit with people to be able to meet them where they are to get the transformation that you're looking for.
What does the sitting with people actually entail for you?
Being honest with people and having people be honest with you. We are not going to be able to get anything done if you're going to BS me and I'm going to BS you.
That's true.
So let's just be honest about what we're doing or not doing, right? Or not going to do, and then we can come out on the other side.
You talk a little bit about, helping and being honest with people. Have you been in situations where people weren't as honest from an HR perspective? And how has that impacted the success of your projects?
Absolutely. So when I work with a lot of CEOs, right? And so one of the things that's really important for me is to understand what's your true motivation here. And so it might be something like, hey, it's altruistic. I really just want to do this for the people. This is really for the good of it. Or it might be, look, I'm checking some boxes.
And that's okay.
And that's okay too.
Because
right?
their goals is to make their stakeholders.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Or I'm trying to save some money, or we need to move this in a certain way, or we're trying to be very strategic by the budget, whatever it might be. But when you're being honest with me about what we're going to be able to do here, and I know what your true motivator is, I know how to get us to where we're going faster. And so when you dance around and you lead with one thing, and then on the back end, I come back to you with that output and you say, oh, that's not quite it. Well, why you didn't tell me that?
Just tell me the truth.
Just tell me the truth.
Oh my gosh. So you describe yourself, at least on LinkedIn, as being like this metric-based, operationally focused HR leader, right? That's a powerful stance. So I'm curious, what's your philosophy on how data and empathy intersect?
So as an HR person, I think we lead so much with what feels good and what's good for the heart. But when you're working with business leaders and CEOs, you can't lead with that because they're going to want the data that tells the story to make a decision. And so for us, that's what we want to be able to lead with. As a leader, that's what I want to be able to step in the room with, the type of information that helps make decisions. I'll give you a good example. One of my clients is almost 70% female in childbearing years.
70%.
70%. And so when we make decisions about what benefit plans or what policies we should write for them or how we should look at their maternity and parental leave, those are the things we consider because that's what we want to make sure that we're talking to because we have the data to reflect the story.
And so as a person who, spent nearly 17 and a half years military, that type of data can be highly important to an organization, but also in how they retain and recruit new talent? Like, how do you use that type of data to decide who, maybe how you market, for example? How do you see the intersection there?
Exactly. I think that's a good point. So when we start talking about attracting talent in that space, you have to think about who wants to come work for an organization like that. Who does that vibe with well?
Vibe. I love that word.
Right.
Okay.
And so who wants to be in that environment? So that's what you need to lead in with.
Okay. So I know you've done some things in like ADP and Salesforce and all types of things. I have this thing I call Lee's Toolkit. Now, my grandfather was a mechanic and a fisherman and all of the things. And he always, every place he went, he always had his like vice grips. Now, for some of y'all, if y'all don't know what vice grips are, I am judging you silently, but I'm doing it out loud so you know that the judgment is happening. But he always went and had his vice grips. Wherever he went, you would find these vice grips on him. For me, I have a little thing that I take with me. But for you, what's your like 2 or 3 things that are in Ciera's tackle box or toolkit?
So a couple of things. The first one for sure is going to be a notebook. I think it's a missed opportunity when people don't have something to write with. If I gave you the lotto numbers right now and you didn't have anything to write with, you don't win. Thing number 1.
Yes.
Thing number 2, the signature red lip.
I've seen the signature red.
The signature red lip. Let me tell you when I knew it was really working. I had someone walk up to me and they said, "Hey, I thought that was you standing over there, but we weren't sure because you didn't have your lipstick on."
Come on.
And I was like, "Man, ain't no way. The lipstick is really blowing." I mean, like said, they didn't know it was me because I didn't have it on that day.
Oh my gosh.
So for sure, the red lip,
Okay.
affiliate marketing. I'm open to it. If you know somebody,
Hey, y'all, hire Ciera. Okay.
Right. And then the third thing for sure is my calendar. I live by my calendar, and everyone knows if you want to reach me for personal or for business things, I need to be able to first reference my calendar.
I love that. I think people underestimate calendar management, and then that leads to them overcommitting for things that they were never going to be able to do.
Exactly. Especially in the DMV, because if there's travel involved, yeah, it's an issue.
It's an act of Congress, literally, to get through. So you have this toolkit that are your 3 things. Tell me, as you think about, and maybe even as you're helping organizations today, what are the 2 or maybe even 3 top things that HR leaders are struggling with the most from your perspective?
The first thing for sure is not being strategic. You're doing a lot of tactical things, and I'm not saying tactical things don't need to get done, because they do. But you also have to be able to sit at the table and understand how the HR seat moves the business forward. And how do you pull those strings? So that's thing number 1, being strategic. Thing number 2 is being able to look ahead of the business. So today we're making the strategy for today, maybe 6 months out, maybe we're talking about the next budget year. Totally fine. But you need to be able to see what's happening in the world and in your organization and on the talent market to understand, what do I need to be looking at longer term to prepare the company for what's going to be best for them later on.
Wow.
And then the third thing is preparing people with the true soft skills they need.
Yes.
That I'm going to get up on a soapbox times 2, right? Because you really got to be able to say that the people who work for you need to leave better than when they got there.
Also underestimated. When you talk about the HR leader knowing and really aligning with the business, I think a lot of times, at least in my experience, I've ran into HR leaders who actually do not understand what the business does. I'm reminded, my speaker coach, Derek Young, shout out Derek Young. Hey, DK. He was talking to me about a opportunity he had to work for a very large wildlife and gaming organization. And he basically said, dude, I went in there and I learned everything I could about all their products. He was just coaching them, leading them, working with senior leaders. But he went and learned everything that he could about the product, what the business does, what makes the most sense, what type of leaders were going to be in the room when he was speaking, so that he could help align the goals of the senior executive leadership and actually cascade that down properly. Because he understood the business deeply, the industry deeply, it resonated more intimately with those folks. So I would say maybe even to HR leaders who are watching this, and maybe emerging HR leaders, do you understand what the business actually does, how it makes its revenue? Because at least from a traditional perspective, HR isn't a revenue generating call center.
Yeah, 100%. That is one of the things. So I teach a lot of executives. I coach HR professionals. And that's the first thing I'm going to teach you. If you don't know what the business does, you can't add value. And when they got to make a decision to make a cut, it's going to be you.
That part. So as technology is evolving everyone, there's like three groups of people. People who are like, I am embracing disruption. I'm embracing AI. I'm going to use it as a mini me. There's another group of folks who are like, I'm cautiously optimistic, but they say we have to use it. And then there's this other group that in some shape, form, or fashion, maybe perceive that they're taking a stand against it. How have you seen AI actually impacting real time HR folks, especially going into SHRM? I know it's going to be a hot topic.
So HR people are really, a mixed bag there.
Okay.
And so one of the things that I see happening is they want to get in, they're dabbling with it, right? They're trying to figure out how they can make it work. And then you have some people who are saying, no, this isn't going to work for me. I want to keep doing things the way I'm doing them. And I think when we start talking about this even takes one step back. You have people who are still doing things on paper, people who don't want to go into a tech system at all.
Oh my goodness.
And so it's showing up the same way. And so we have our HR mastermind group in the Baltimore area coming up in July. And that's our topic, HR and AI.
I think for those that are maybe resistant to the disruption, it actually presents even a larger challenge if the person is resistant, but the business is not.
Absolutely, it does.
And then we see that misalignment of HR not aligned as a business partner to the business.
Yeah, if you cannot move forward what the business is getting on track with, they're going to leave you behind. And I think sometimes HR leaders believe that they're untouchable, or they can't do it without me. There is another HR leader who is just as much aligned to tech and AI and doing things the way the business wants to do it, and they'll leave you.
I was on the plane last night and coming to hang out with you here. And this young lady sitting beside me, and I say young lady, she had to be, actually I asked her, she's retired. Okay, retired Princeton graduate, was reading a book, and I'm just we are live, so sorry, y'all, but it says AI Snake Oil, what artificial intelligence can do, what it can't do, and how to tell the difference. It's written by two Princeton graduates, but I think even for people across industries, across ages, across generations, this is a really big thing. Yeah. So to resist it, and we can't because it's already embedded in our ERPs, in our HR systems, in our financial data modelings. What would be the thing that you would say to an HR leader who's struggling? They're on the fence. What would be the thing that you would do to perhaps calm them or get them on board?
They got to get involved. And so even if it means you're just going to download one of them and play with them, talk to someone else who's using it very well, but you cannot sit on the outside and let this just happen to you.
Happen to
you.
Y'all, you cannot sit on the outside and let this happen to you. I'm sure that's probably applicable across other things as well. So you've trained leaders on gender sensitivity. You designed COVID-19 contingency plans. You've led HR for industries from cannabis to commercial strategy, which I actually did a cannabis workday implementation some years ago. Spent a lot of time in British Columbia, Nanaimo Island. Needless to say, everyone on the project was always calm. Very nice. But if there's a playbook for the future of HR, what chapter are we in now?
Evolution. We are in the evolution chapter. I think HR now cannot be a paper pusher. HR cannot miss technology opportunities. HR has to think very strategically about who they recruit, and how they develop who's there. They have to think very strategically about how you retain people, because I think good talent is going to be harder to find, and you're going to want to be able to keep those folks who are really moving your business forward.
That reminds me. So I was in a strategy class at Emory University, and the professor asked, what is strategy? So perhaps our next session, we should talk about what is thinking strategically with some case studies or use cases. Yeah, that's interesting. Like, what is strategy? We use that word, but what I found, at least in my peer group, they don't know what is strategic versus what is tactical or what is operational. And there are tiers to that from an ownership perspective, from a delegation perspective, but also from a maturity of the person and organization perspective.
Absolutely.
So let me ask you this. Okay, we're at this interesting point. I did this. Oh my gosh, when did I do this? I considered doing it, but in either case, I'm going to let you ask me. You get 2 questions, Ciera Parks. Okay, you better make them count.
2 questions. All right, question number 1.
Yes.
Lee, been around the world. cop the same things twice, right? What are 2 skills that you think people should be implementing, be it either technology-wise or personal development, to thrive?
I would say number 1, read more, talk less. That's a skill. A lot of times in meetings, we want to be the first person to speak. But what I have learned, if I listen more, if I read more in preparation, and if I read the room, and that's what I mean, read, you can apply that however you need to. Read more, talk less. At least when I speak, my words have more power because I understand what people are actually looking for and how that aligns with them. And I would say the other one is knowing your audience and knowing the business. When I'm chatting with the CFO, they do not tend to care about all of the warm and fuzzies. Now, I'm married to an accountant. Okay. My spouse can find the penny and like a needle in a haystack. Okay. That is a very black and white conversation to have with a CFO or an accountant or a controller. When I'm speaking with HR folks, they tend to understand that there's gray, but gray within regulation, gray within the law, gray within how the business chooses to do this or that. So I have to deeply know the audience. So before we speak, know the audience. When I'm speaking with supply chain management, these folks just came out of a whirlwind with COVID. A lot of the top supply chain management leaders, especially at large hospitals or large retail distribution centers, they have probably done more from a resourcing and allocation and strategy perspective than most people did the 20 years before it because they've lived through COVID. So knowing that audience will make you a better consultant, will make you a better human. Heck, it might even make you a better HR leader.
Yeah.
I wrote a book on it.
What's the name of the book?
So technology alone is not transformation. The HR Technologist's Guide to True Organizational Change. So, okay, and you didn't ask this, but since we're talking,
Tell it.
so y'all just get to listen, y'all fly on the wall. I had done a number of implementations, and everyone kept thinking, no matter what the solution was, and solution technology, whether it was Workday, whether it's ADP, whether it was Smartsheet, whether it was Immigrate, they thought that the technology was somehow going to like wand wave and transform their business. The truth of the matter is, and I love Workday, okay? I consider Workday to be like the Maserati of ERPs and HCM solutions. But Workday, like ADP, like Bamboo HR, like Rippling, like N4, it's a car. It is a vehicle to get you from one place versus the other. Now, true, Workday may have a quieter cabin, okay, may have a better engine, might have, features and buttons. Maybe ADP or N4 has this over here, leather seats in their car, okay? But it's still a vehicle. That vehicle may get you to that place, but what happens afterwards, that's where the transformation.
Right.
So a lot of my projects, especially early on and probably less in the last maybe 3 years, they're like, oh, we're just going to get, Workday. It's going to solve all the problems and we're going to be good. Have you done true business process improvement? Have you evaluated your policies? Have you thought about how the solution is actually going to impact the people? Are your people ready for this change? How much change did you do before? How many times have you optimized or elevated or transformed your current system? Are you going to experience change fatigue? Do your folks have the competency? And I use that word not lightly, the competency to absorb this type of system, or is there another system that's best for your people? I'll give you a great example. Some years back, I was working at Goodwill headquarters of Middle Tennessee, and I love Goodwill's mission. We call it the GW, okay, if you're bougie, yes, the GW. But there was a manager on the team that I was on who, when we went live with Workday, came and chatted with me and some folks in HR and said, this system is great. It's wonderful. I think it's going to do all the things you all want it to do, but I have to quit. And this was a person who had been with the organization for at least 2 decades. Wow. And so the initial question is, what about this system makes you want to quit? Come to find out, she couldn't read. We had put in this system without actually going through deeply the change management and the needs assessment and all of the things that we needed to put in place. We knew our target audience was had a very diverse or colorful background. Yes, there are, folks who are college educated and professionals, but you have folks who have been dislocated, who have barriers to employment, who have digital literacy issues, who have all of those types of things that other organizations have deemed them unfit. Mm-hmm. Goodwill is a home for everybody, right? But we had not accounted for the fact that we may actually have folks who could not read past the third or fourth grade level. Mm-hmm. And I took it personally. I was the HR training and development manager there. So this, in fact, was my own failure. Mm-hmm. So I had not done the best needs assessment to say, are we ready for this? Mm-hmm. Are we putting things in place with knowledge articles? Maybe we need more pictures than we need words. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I hadn't even considered that. And I wonder, at least from your perspective as well, like, what are the things HR isn't considering mm-hmm. that's there, but we aren't seeing it?
So I'm going to step on some toes with this one.
Come on.
Because I think sometimes people look at HR and believe that all HR leaders have the same level of competency.
Anthony Howard, do you know him? He said HR ain't HR everywhere.
Ain't the same. It ain't. It is not. And so what happens is you assume that every HR leader is going to be able to do all of the things. And the reality is that's not the case, right? You might have someone who's really good at running payroll and benefits administration, and you've given them the title HR manager, assuming that they can also do employee relations and they can triage for you and they can also be a fiduciary for the organization. Not the case. And so what we end up having happen, and I see this all the time, and this is why I get a lot of calls. Hey, we have an HR leader. They're very good at what they do, but they are not the T&D leader. They are not the training and development. They do not have what it means to put together curriculum for our level of workforce, for the various levels in the organization. They can't do curriculum design. Wow. They can't train and teach. They can't stand in front of a room and deliver messages in a way that resonate with the audience. And that's why people call us. No one is saying that an HR leader is not a good leader, but you don't have to be a Swiss Army knife of everything. And that's where you call help.
Listen, y'all, call help. If you're struggling, call help. I mean, that's what you do in an emergency. Right. I am doing a talk later this year, and I decided to call it, Are You the Spare Tire? Are you the spare tire? And in some places, it's not good to be the spare tire. But for you, it's okay. Yeah. Listen, you have your main people. That's cool. Yeah. But in an emergency, you're going to need that spare tire. Exactly. Especially if you're driving down the roads of Nashville, because we have potholes. Okay. Okay.
Shots fired.
We have potholes. Okay. But in either case, Ciera, we are almost at our time here. And I'd like to move us to, let's see, 2 minutes of rapid fire. Okay. Now, I am ready for this. Okay. You have to say the thing that comes first to mind.
You know, you shouldn't ask me. Like, you should not put me in this type of format.
Disclaimer.
Audience, tell your people.
Oh my gosh. All right. So, biggest HR myth.
HR is because you love people. Doing HR is because you love people. Big myth.
Best advice you've ever received.
Listen carefully for what you're missing.
Songs that get you pumped before a tough meeting.
Put on a little Glorilla. Might put on a little Temptations.
Okay.
Yeah. Look, it's a mix. It's a mix. Yeah. Depends on what kind of meeting we're going.
Okay, so now I have to ask you. Yeah. Are you like a drama? Are you comedy? Are you adventure movie wise?
Hardcore horror.
Okay, horror, so I will tell you this. I do not watch. No. You hear the fear coming here. I do not watch horror movies.
Yeah, I'm a big horror fan.
And if I am forced, I have to watch it in the daytime, and I have to watch comedy before I go to bed.
Gotta switch gears.
I have to change. I cannot go to bed with that, but I love First 48.
See, you got to work through that. You got to figure out why that's okay and not.
Law and Crime.
Right. All of those. Criminal Minds, yeah.
I can YouTube. I can watch the whole series, put on some gospel in between.
Little pause, come back to it.
And be fine. But something about the horror, I just can't get with it. If your life was a Lifetime movie, what would the title be?
Rihanna does HR.
I love it. Because time is our favorite.
Yeah. We're going to go somewhere with that. We're going to figure it out.
If you could give advice to a new to HR person, what would that advice be?
Find a mentor. Find a damn good mentor.
There's Istenson, okay? If you're listening, a note to you. Istenson did this talk at an organization just around the difference between a coach, a mentor, and a sponsor. Mm-hmm. Everybody needs a mentor. But if you are going to get a mentor, be accountable to be a good mentee.
Exactly. Don't waste people's time.
Worst thing in the world is for somebody to ask you for something and you open a door or you put yourself out there and then they don't show up with their best version of themselves.
Absolutely.
Okay. Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Starbucks.
What are you most looking forward to this year?
We're in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really, soft girl life. I'm not gonna hold you, right? I think it's being where you need to be and doing the things that best serve your purpose. And so that's what I think a soft life is. It's not about just all lounging. It's about I'm in my purpose.
Nikisha Hicks, good friend of mine, she talks about this, about being in purpose accident. So being in your purpose. Absolutely. I love that. Y'all, anything else you'd like to say? Share.
I mean, all the things, right? I'm your HR auntie, your HR best friend, CEO whisperer.
It's giving real Tabitha Brown.
Right.
I love this, cultivating real Tabitha Brown. Shout out to Tabitha Brown.
Right, so yeah.
Okay. Love it. Ciera, it's been 15 minutes of pure gold. I appreciate your time, your ability to balance data, insights, HR, and be authentic to who you are, I think is inspiring. And I'm so glad we got to be friends.
I know. This is a thing.
Okay, listen, to our listeners, check out the show notes. Connect with Ciera on all the things. Okay, all the things. LinkedIn, start there. In the comments, you can like, you can heart, you can comment. As we wrap up, I'll leave you with this. Since we said Tabitha Brown, we'll go with that. Let's see here. In the words of Tabitha Brown, I hope you have the most amazing day. But even if you can't, don't you dare go messing up nobody else's. That part.
Exactly.
Bye, y'all. See ya.